Today's video, we are going to learn how to use Drizzle with CRUD operation with the Next.js application. So as you can see in here on the Drizzle website, on the performance section right here, so basically Drizzle more fast than Prisma. As you can see, the execution time for the Drizzle is 30 milliseconds and for the Prisma is 425 milliseconds. And also for the Drizzle, we can make a 6,000 requests per second, and with Prisma we can do 2,000 requests per second. So of course Drizzle more better in this case. And also for the CPU load, as you can see, just 26.4% and Prisma have 94.8%. So yeah, for this comparison, of course Drizzle is more better than Prisma. Okay, so what the application we are going to learn. So as you can see, basically we're going to create just really simple Todo app, and I'm not going to working with any input and something like that. This is just a really simple Todo app. As you can see, if I click add to do, this is just adding the new to do with just a random number, right? So I just want to show you how the Drizzle work with Next.js. So I'm not going to add really beautiful UI or something like that. So as you can see, if I click edit, the UI here is updated, as you can see, and of course on the database the UI is also updated. Let me refresh to get the newest data. As you can see, 7376 ID have a to do edited on the text. So let's go back right here, and yeah, this is what we have, right? So let's try to make it a done. So let's click done, and then now we have to see this is going to be done. Let's just refresh it, and yep, as you can see, the done column is true for this to do edited. So hopefully you learn something new from this video. Let's get started. So let's generate brand new Next.js application. I'm going to give a name Drizzle Neon Postgres because we are going to working with the Neon database right here, right? So let's use TypeScript, ESLint, Tailwind CSS, source directory, app router, turbo pack, and import alias. I should say no. Let's cd into the Drizzle Neon Postgres folder, and from here I'm going to open that inside Visual Studio Code. So now let's go to the Drizzle documentation and click get started. And then as you can see, the Drizzle is support any database right here. You can select anything you want, but in this video I'm going to use this Neon database. So just click on that, and as you can see, basically we can just follow along this documentation. So let's scroll down and see. The first thing is we need to install the Drizzle ORM and the Neon database / serverless. And also we need to install the Drizzle kit as a dev dependency, and also the .env to basically read the env variable outside the app directory. So I'm going to copy all of this on the top here, copy that, go to the terminal, and then just paste that right here. Alright, it's done. So let's go back, and we are going to need to install the Drizzle kit. We don't need this tsx basically. Tsx is just a package to run TypeScript file, so we don't need to do that. So here, let's install this Drizzle kit. Alright, great. So now let's run npm run dev to just start localhost 3000. So first we need to get the connection variable from the Neon database. Just go to Neon website. You can create an account. I use my GitHub account right here. So from the create project name, I'm going to give a name to do app, and for the Postgres version, just leave it 16, and for the region, I'm going to select Singapore. It is close to me, and then just click create project, and for the auto scaling, just leave it like this and click confirm. So now as you can see, we get our URL database connection right here. So let's just go back to VS Code. First, I'm going to create .env file. And then from here, I'm going to create a database underscore URL environment variable. And then I'm going to set the value into this URL right here. Just copy the snippet and then paste that right here. All right, great. We need to create a DB variable, and then basically we need to connect the Drizzle ORM into the database. Let's go back to the source right here, right? I'm going to create a folder called DB. Let's do DB, and then I don't like to use like an index right here. I just preference use a drizzle.ts file. So let's do drizzle.ts file. So basically on the drizzle.ts file, I just export this DB variable, and then I run the Drizzle, come from the Drizzle ORM Neon HTTP, and paste the process.env.database URL that we already copy and paste, right? And then we're using .env to read the environment variable. So why we using .env? Because this will be outside the app folder, right? If we need to read environment variable outside the app folder, we need to use .env package. Otherwise, we can use just normal process.env.database URL inside the app folder here. Okay, so after we export this DB, next let's create the schema. So let's go to DB folder here. I'm going to create file called schema.tsx, specifically .ts. I'm going to create a table called to do. Okay, the PG table is basically come from the PG core right here. We're going to create table called to do and ID that have integer value, and a text have a text value, and done have a boolean value, and created at have a timestamp value. So as you can see, everything inside this string is basically will becoming the column from the to-do table right here. And the next we need to create drizzle config. So let's create the config of drizzle in here. So basically we have to create the drizzle config.ts outside the source. That means on the root of our application. So basically we need to export the define config from the drizzle kit. And as you can see, the schema is basically come from the schema that we created right here, right? So we get from the source and then db and then schema.ts. And then the output, so basically this is the migration. So we are going to see folder called migration on the root right here if we put the migration right here. So basically you can put the migration folder to anywhere you want. I just want to put that on the migration folder on the root. And then for the dialect, I select PostgreSQL because we set the PostgreSQL on the right here on the Neon database, right? And also for the DB credential, this is basically that URL that we paste on the environment variable. And yep, that's it. And again, we're using .env because this is outside the app folder. Of course, we cannot use a normal process.env any environment variable name. All right, so after we create the schema, after we create this config, and then we need to applying the changes to the database. So we can just directly create the npx drizzle git push. This is basically not going to be create the, let me see right here, not create the migration folder for us. This is just, will just push the changing into the database without create the migration folder. But now let's use this npx drizzle kit generate to generate the migration folder. So let's just paste that right here on the terminal. Let's hit enter. And as you can see now on the root, we should see one folder called migration because we create /migration in here. And as you can see, we have this folder migration. If I click this one right here, as you can see, this will create a table called to do with any ID text done and created that we create on the schema. Great. But now if you see on the Neon database, there's no change happen on this table. So let's go to tables. And as you can see, this is just a 0 table in public schema. There's no table in here. So now let's run the npx drizzle kit migrate. So let's just copy this command, go back to terminal and pasting that here, just hit enter. So let's see right here, I'm going to refresh. And as you can see, now we have one table called to do with ID, text done and created at column. So basically we done. Now we can add, read, edit and delete any data from the database. Let me show you right here. I'm going to close everything, right? And then just run npm run dev on the terminal. Let's go to the page.tsx right here. I'm going to say cons and then I'm say to do set equals to await into the db. db is going to become from the db/drizzle. And then right here, I'm going to say db dot, as you can see, we can basically use select, and then I'm going to select the data from to do. To do is basically come from the db/schema, just like that. And then now we can just console log that to do's and we should get the data. Let me just change that component to async because we await that right here. So now let's try to see when I just refresh this one and open the inspect and then console. As you can see, we have empty array. That means we successfully get the data from the database. For example, I'm going to add new data in here, manual data. For the ID, I'm going to say 1. For the text, let's do this is to do 1. And for the done, I'm going to say default, which is, let me see right here, false. And then created at is default. So let's save that. Now let's go back to the create Next.js app right here. I'm going to refresh and now we should get one data right here. I hope you can see it. So as you can see, we have this data right here, ID1, text, this is to do 1 and etc. Great. So now let's create another file called action to basically create all the action that we can use, like a get to do, add to do, and etc. So inside a source folder, I'm going to create another folder called actions. And then inside the action, let's create a file called to do actions.ts right here. So first I'm going to export the function called, let's say, get to do's. Set equals to is going to be async function. And then let's say const data set equals to await for the db. It's going to be like same like we're doing on the home right here. Just copy that and paste it right here. Right, the to do is going to be come from the db/schema, and the db is going to become from the db drizzle. And then down here we can just simply return data. So now we can go back to page, and then instead of just run the db right here, now we can just do await into get to do's come from the action, just like this, and this is going to be do the same thing. As you can see, we get the data. Nice, that's how we get the data, really simple. So next, let's create function to basically add new data. So here I'm going to say add to do like this. Add to do is basically like a property called ID. This is going to be the number, and also the text. Text is going to be a string like this. And down here, instead of using db.select, we are going to use db.insert because we are going to insert some data into the database. And basically, we are going to select first the table that we are going to insert, which is the to-do table. And also for the values, I'm going to send that right here. So let's send the ID set equals to ID, and then text set equals to text. So basically inside the add to do function, we don't need to return anything. So let's just remove the return here. So on the page.tsx, I just want to return this div with a to-dos inside that. And then we paste the to-dos as a props. So let me go to to-dos component right here. I just copy and paste basically. So this is just a really simple UI, so just not confused about that. As you can see, we have a component called to-dos with a to-dos props. And then as you can see on the top, we have add to do with just a really simple button called add to do right here. And then also we map through these to-dos inside the UL. And then as you can see right here, inside that we have some button for edit, for undo, and done for delete. Alright, so we get this error here because we don't specify the type of these to-do props. So let's go back to the source, and I'm going to create a folder called types. And inside the types, I'm going to create a file called todo.type.ts. And I just want to create a type called a to-do type right here that have ID number, text string, and then done boolean. So now we can use this type into the to-dos. So let's go back in the to-dos component, and we can use like an interface to-dos props like this. And then we can basically specify that the to-dos props, it should be have the to-dos type. And then this is going to be inside an array. So let's just make sure we import that from the type/to-do type. And then now we can use the to-do props inside this to-dos component. Let's paste that right here. Great. So now let's take a look what we have on the browser. As you can see, basically we have just really simple button right here and some lists. And as you can see, we have just one to do because on the console database right here, we just have one data. Okay, so now let's try to create a new to do. Let's go back to to-dos right here, and we are going to create a function. So let me do const. I'm going to give a name handle add to do like this, set equals to, this is going to be async await function. So I'm going to do like this, and then console log. For now, I just want to console log that, and then add to do like this. And then we can paste that function into the add to do component right here. And then of course, inside the add to do component, we are going to get the props. So we can do like this. And of course, we get an error because we're using a TypeScript. So here we can use like an interface called add to do props, and then we are going to specify the handle add to do is going to be a function that just returning a void like this, and then we can put that interface right here. Nice. So now when we click this button, so we can do like on click, this is will run the handle add to do function. So let's just try it. So if I click the add to do, let me show you on the console. As you can see, add to do is added right here. Nice. And then now let's working with the function right here, add to do function. Let's go back right here, and instead of console log, I can just simply run await and then add to do. Just make sure we import it from the action, just like this, and we send the ID and then the text. So let's try to create just a random ID on the top right here. Const ID set equals to, I'm going to use the math function right here to just basically create a random ID. And then down here for the text, let's do const and then text set equals to, I also just want to create this text right here to do and whatever the ID it is. So let's save that. And then now let's try to click add to do. If I click that, as you can see, we get an error. Let me see what happened. The reason why we get this error, because as you can see on the to-dos here, we run the add to do, right? And then on the add to do here, we not specify this should be run on the server. So we can use server on the top right here to make sure everything in here should be run on the server. So let's try to hit add to do. So now as you can see, there's no error, but there's no data in here. But if I go back to Neon console, if I refresh, we should see one new data, as you can see here, with a new ID, and the text should be to do 40 or whatever. And then yeah, we get the new data. Cool. So let's try to click that again. It should be have 3 data now. But the problem is, as you can see on the browser, we not see the data until we refresh it. Okay, as you can see, we have 3 data in here, and also we get 3 data in here. This is going to be automatically show the data when I click add to do. The way we do that, we can use revalidating right here. So we can do revalidate path, and we can set the path is going to be /. Revalidating path is going to come from the next catch, and we are going to revalidate the /, which is this home right here. So let's try to click add to do. And now as you can see, we have new to do down here. Click that again, we have new to do. Click that again, we have new to do. After we successfully create a new to do, let's now create another function called delete to do. So basically we create a delete to do function, and then this is going to be a async wait function. And then we take an ID to basically know where the ID that we are going to delete, right? And we run await db.delete using delete function, and then paste the to do, which is the table that we are going to find the data, where the to do ID equal to ID that we paste on the props. Okay, so now let's run the delete to do on the to do's right here. So basically we can simply create function called handle delete to do, and then run the async await function in here, and just run the delete to do come from the action. So now let's run the handle delete to do on the delete button right here. So we can do like on click like this, and then of course we need to run the handle delete to do, and we can paste that ID. We can do to do.id just like that. All right, so now let's try. I'm going to delete maybe this is to do 1. I'm going to click delete, and then now as you can see, that is gone. Okay, the delete is done. Really simple. So now let's working with the update. Let's go back to the function right here, and we're going to create the update to do. So as you can see, I just paste the edit to do function. This is basically take ID and text, because we are going to get the text that we need to edit, right? So in here we run the await db, and then we're using update, right? For the add we're using insert, for the delete we're using delete, and for the edit we're using update. And find the table, and then set the text into the text come from the props right here, where the to do ID equals to ID that we paste from the props here. And then down here we're revalidating the path again, because we changed something on the database. Nice. So now let's save that, and let's go back to the to-dos. And then on the top right here, let's simply run handle edit to do. And then again, we need to send the ID and also the text that we need to edit, right? So in this case, I just want to put the to do edited. This is normally come from the input, but I'm not going to do that in this video. All right, so now let's run the handle edit to do on the edit button right here. Because we are going to send a props in this function, we are going to use arrow function. So we can use handle edit to do right here, and we're going to send the to do.id just like that. So now let's try to click edit. So let's edit, for example, this one right here. If I click edit, as you can see, nothing really happened. If I refresh, nothing also happened. So let me see what we're doing wrong here. Oh, I think this is worked, but the order of the to do is changed. As you can see, if I click edit on the top right here, and now the to do edited is becoming on the bottom. So we need to change basically the way we get the to-dos. So on the top right here, I'm going to sort the to-dos, not sort by, but order by. And I'm going to order by to-do dot created at like this. So now let's try to add to do, and then as you can see down here we have 3, right? I'm going to change this 3531. I'm going to click edit. So now as you can see, this to do will change. I'm going to click this one, this to do will change. Great, the edit is works. So now let's create the toggle. Let's go to the action right here. So let's create the toggle to do function, and then right here we're using .update because we changed something on the database. So this is just like we're doing on the top right here, and then we set the done into the not to do done. So if the to do done is true, we set this to false. When the to do done is false, we set this to true. So we basically find where the to do ID is equal to ID that we send right here on the props. And then down here, we revalidating the path again. Okay, so now let's run the toggle to do on the to-dos right here. So let's just create a function. The function is just really simple. Handle toggle to do, take a ID, and then just run the toggle to do like this. And now we need to run the handle toggle to do on this button right here. Just do on click and then run the arrow function. We send the to do ID. Just like that. And as you can see on the top right here, if the to do done is true, we set the background to green, and else we set the background to red. So if I go back right here, and if I, for example, change this to done, as you can see, the background should be changed to green. As you can see, it just works. If I click delete, it also just works. So that's how we use Drizzle. As you see, this is just really simple. First, we create the Drizzle on the DB right here. Right, and then we create the schema, and then we create the Drizzle config, and then we just done. And then as you can see, we create the action right here and just run the get to do's on whatever the place you want. In this case, we're running that on the server component, and then we just get the to do's value. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys on the next one.